We're going to go on to number 3. That is the pause. I'm finding I'm spending time tonight in how I relate to what I'm sharing with you in my childlike experience. So my pause is more like, stop! and so I have some memories, like a loud voice or something like that. Or using my name, John! What was the other one? Mr. Morton. There's another one. And I was still like this big. Any of you get addressed something like that? Okay, so that there was a special name when you were addressed to stop or come to a pause or a halt or something like that. Now I'll do another one of these. So that we can come into a pause that's like a beautiful balancing point between two worlds. The yin and the yang, there we go. And somewhere in the middle of that, and I just got prompted to diagram it for us all. I'll see how good I can do this. That's not so hot, but I'm going to relate to it as a form, perhaps in a 40-mile-an-hour wind, of a perfect state between one version of energy and another version of energy, seemingly opposite. And in this reality, amongst others, it's a dynamic. It's a necessary dynamic, so it sets up movement. And that movement is constantly in a balancing relationship. And I'm sort of mimicking it with my hands a bit here. So then if we started doing this more and more, and some of you who practice, I think that's, what is that, Tai Chi? Okay, thank you. That's one of them, but there are many disciplines that would help us come into natural rhythms and then develop ways so that we can transfer energies from one part of the body to another part of the body, one part of the consciousness to another part of the consciousness, and then using the body instrument, but all of the consciousness. So it is something that integrates from the inner to the outer and from the outer into the inner. And let's just consider that in all of that there could be a point of rebalancing that would be a pause, like hold. And then we begin. And it's like, what is that? Well, I'm waiting. Any of you, I'm going to just say youngsters, ever do jump roping where it required 2 people to be doing the rope? And then there was a point to come in. Okay. What's another one? Boy, this is like any of you, like you could get on a horse by just jumping on it as it rode by. Anybody? Maybe that was who's Hopalong Cassidy? How's that? I don't think he was built for that, was he? I don't know, but he seemed a little bit over the hill to do that. But I'm going to give him credit. He could. That's how he got the name Hopalong, right? He could just hop onto the horse. But knowing that timing, okay, here we go. Like anybody, a good batter in baseball? Okay, so coming into, well, how would you hit the ball with the bat? Somehow relating to all the factors in motion and putting them together and synchronizing all that is an ability. And that there's a pause, but it is something that often we don't pay attention to, like that whatever goes up that must come down, there's a pause. There's a point where it's neither going up or neither going down. So you can say, well, what is that? It's like, well, how narrow is that when it's like attempting to know when we actually go to sleep. a precise moment. Anybody ever tried to track that? See, my hand's up. And it seems like I didn't make it. I don't know, I go unconscious when it happens. I don't ever get to really actually witness. And I think there's something there. Twilight, there's another one. So then I'm relating to these things where there's a moment where it's neither this or neither that, and what would that be called? Kind of a pause in between two states. Dark and light, up and down, in and out. And being able to appreciate that, and let's say expand it, so you could expand the pause. And in this world, be very helpful if you're ever going to do something you're going to regret. Did you see the practicality in that? That pause, ain't going to do that. Here's one. This one I think might be for Tom Dyer. But I have to pull it out. See, it was the one that came after Twilight Zone. So after Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, thank you. Okay. So it was an Outer Limits, yeah, there was also Night Gallery. But this one is an Outer Limits episode. So what happened was there was some kind of like a murder on the 10th floor of a hotel, and then there was a whole thing going on in the lobby where these scientists had the ability to like roll the time forward, roll the time backward, and they kept trying to alter the actual murder. So then they had to alter the bullet, and so they were doing things like as the bullet was in the air, they would kind of slow it down, and then the guy tried to ping it out, like so that the bullet somehow didn't hit, because but then that would change what happened thereafter. So then they kept trying to find some window to alter it so that the murder didn't have to happen. You with me now? I don't think they ever managed to do it. I hope I'm not spoiling if you run into that episode of Outer Limits. But it was like they tried to find this point where they could alter it so it didn't have to be a murder without something worse happening. You get the idea? But let's just consider, in MSIA, John Rogers shared with us something called deflect and related it to something like 60 seconds. So that if we actually said something that we realized, I don't want to say that, or I don't want to put that in motion, that we could say deflect, and that was an opportunity. However, it was an opportunity we needed to take now, not when it was in some kind of cement. So let's consider that having a pause every now and then might give us this opportunity where we could clear what's in motion that we don't need or want for the highest good of all concerned. So having an awareness of how to do a pause is a great tool, and it also puts us into a state where we can have what we call altitude, so that we have the opportunity to take a look from a higher state of consciousness. Here's another way to relate to a pause. I'll sleep on it. I'll let you know in the morning. How many of you experienced that works? It works in me, and it's like, well, what is that? What is it that happens such that I have a thought or a way of looking at the situation in the morning that I didn't have the night before? Okay, let's call that the pause. Or something that gives us a rest so that if we can have the wit to not decide now, not to choose that now, that can be in our favor. But notice sometimes it is, nope, I missed the opportunity by being hesitant. So that's different than what I'm talking about, where we have the brakes on. Any of you ever drive such that your pedals on the accelerator and the brake at the same time? I'm getting some people going, I do that. And then to anybody driving you behind you with your red lights that indicate your brake lights are on, but you're going forward. So that's not necessarily the best way to drive or live your life.